Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Lost Omens announcement panel. I'm Luis Loza. I'm a Pathfinder developer working at Paizo, working on the Lost Omens books line. And I have with me another fellow developer, Ron Lundeen.
Hi, I'm Ron Lundeen. I work on the Pathfinder adventure paths and sort of orchestrate a lot of the stories that we have to tell over multiple parts. It's thrilling for me to be working on the adventure line. One of the things that's very exciting is the many different authors that I could work with to do the freelancing. One of whom is here, Ali Bustian.
Hi, I'm Ali Bustian. I am a freelance tabletop game designer. I work on a lot of things. And lately a good few of them have been for Paizo. So now I'm here.
Yeah, Ali's done a lot of great work for some of the things we're about to tell you today. So let's just get right into them. As I mentioned, I work on the Lost Omens line, which is really has a focus on our campaign setting for Pathfinder, the World of Golarion, the Age of Lost Omens. And today we're here to announce the next book in the line, which is coming in June 2021. It's The Lost Omens Mwangi Expanse. It's a huge book. We're looking close to over 300 pages at this point, talking about a particular region in our world, the Mwangi Expanse, which is inspired by a lot of non-European folklore. A lot of it has origins with folklore from Africa and other locations. And it's just a really great place that we haven't had a chance to look into in the history of Pathfinder just yet. And this is our first real deep dive. We've looked at it before here and there, but this is the first time we've given it so much word count, so many pages that, you know, it's time. We figured we like this place a lot. Let's take a look at it. So like I said, it's coming June 2021. And what can you expect in a book like this? Well, we're going to go into a lot of what makes the Mwangi Expanse, and that starts off with the history of the Mwangi. We talk about the origins of magic in the current day through the help of individual figures like Old Mage Jatembe, but even cut back into even older things like the rise of the serpent folk during that time and things like that. And then from there, we start talking about the present day Mwangi Expanse, and we go into different things like the people and the culture that are there, and we take a deep dive into lots of the different groups that exist in there. We talk about all the different human ethnicities, elven ethnicities, dwarven ethnicities, things like that exist in the book. And actually, Ali was very helpful with these particular sections. Ali, you did work on all of the elves and the Sango halflings. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what writing that was like and what your inspirations were for that?
Yeah. For the Mwangi Elves, I really tried to pull from what it's like being a part of a diaspora. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I'm Black. I pulled a little bit from my experience of trying to find my history, especially for the Alage. And then where do I put this? Because no one else wrote it down. So now I have to write it down. So I then pulled from scarification and tattooing for recording history and writing down everything that you can, anywhere that you can. And I also pulled a lot from my grandfather for them, because he was the impetus for trying to figure out where exactly am I from? What is my history? And then how do I remember it? Let's see, Ikej Elves. A lot of the Ikej Elves were already established for, oh gosh, I can't remember the adventure path.
Age of Ashes.
Yes, Age of Ashes.
Yep. Cult of Cinders, the second adventure there.
Yeah. So I tried to build on top of that, read through that section, I don't know how many times, and then tried to pull out what would make a kind of militaristic, but not really, just very strictly disciplined with a focus on combat kind of society. And for that, I actually pulled from Black Panther. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
But trying to make a group that was very focused on how do we protect and defend ourselves when we know that there's something very dangerous and scary out there. And then surprisingly, I pulled from Amish culture. I I gave them a Rumspringa, basically. So that's something to look forward to when you read that section. And then for the Kalijah Elves, they were a little bit harder for me. Trying to write a group that wanted to, I guess, go out and see things more, but also not really see them, more like the way journalists are supposed to be, where you observe, but you're not a part of things. And then use that knowledge to then protect themselves. And yeah, I didn't feel entirely comfortable pulling just straight things from different African cultures. So I tried to put my experiences in with, I guess, kind of a aesthetic veneer, but really it's built on top of experiences that I've had. And then the Sango Elves, I kind of went the entire opposite direction. I pulled a lot from Caribbean culture, specifically, especially with the Sango having a big focus on stick fighting and like carnival. It's not called carnival, but you'll see. They have like a carnival style of celebration with a giant stick fighting tournament, and stick fighting is a huge, huge part of their culture. And for that, I actually asked another friend of mine, the Rising Tides on Twitter, also known as Brandon O'Brien. And he helped me build a culture that felt real and true to the Caribbean roots that I had wanted to bring into them. But that wasn't just take a sticker, slap it on, and call it something else.
Yeah. That's great.
So,
yeah. And that's, I think, an approach that we like to do a lot here with Paizo, is take inspiration from, give it interesting twists, and make it our own there. In addition to the people and the culture, we also focus a lot on the religions of the Mwangi Expanse. We talk about the deities that you might know already that are prominent there, including new ones. And from there, we give a focus on the geography of the region, and a lot of the cities get a write-up. So you'll learn about the cities like Nantambu and Mazali that you might have heard about before. And this is another part where you helped us out here. One of the only nations that exists within that region is the recently changed nation of Vidrian. Ali, what did you provide for that?
For Vidrian, I figured I would write it since I wrote the iconic hero, I guess, for the area.
That Avernus in
Avernus. I didn't want to try and pronounce it because I always say Avernus.
From Lost Omens Legends, right?
Yeah.
That's everything tying together in the books. That's great.
Yeah. For it, I tried to pull a lot from various rebellions and then what happened afterwards, because that's the really important part, and that's what makes Vidrian what it is. What happens after a rebellion is done and you start cleaning things up, what grows out of it. So there's a little bit of French Revolution in there, like Caribbean revolutions, and then a little bit of my own, like what I would like to
your own revolution.
What I would like to see from a revolution, should one happen, which is a more representative government, like investment into infrastructure and like trying to make sure that the city works. But of course, because people are people, it's not going to be perfect. And that was another big thing that I wanted to bring in, that just because it's fantasy, it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah. But it does, like you said, let us kind of plan and hope and fantasize about what could be in things like that. So beyond that, the final section of the book introduces us to a lot of the monsters in the Mwangi Expanse. Some of these are old favorites, some of these are brand new, and it's a lot of what you would expect in a setting book. It just happens to be a huge dive. When we give you 300 pages of the Mwangi Expanse, that means we give you a lot of material for each of these. I think each of the elf sections, each of them got 10 pages each or something like that. So it's a lot of material coming. But in addition to that, we're also coming with a lot of new rules that in the book here. It's not just all setting material. As much as I love that, some people do want to see how you can play characters from the Mwangi Expanse beyond just knowing the history and the culture. You want some rules to back that up. And to help out with that, we have a whole boatload of new ancestries, 6 new ancestries that we're presenting here. Some of these are ones that people have been asking for. So those include things like the Anati, and ones that we've teased before in the World Guide, like the Kunrasu and Goloma and the Shisk. And there are some that are old favorites that we're trying to bring back, like the Gripply, and ones that I don't know if anyone expected this, but I think they're great to have, and they fit right in, like the Knoll. So, those are the 6 to expect: Anati, Kunrasu, Knoll, Goloma, Gripply, and Shisk. And Ali, again, you helped us out here by bringing the Kunrasu from just 1 or 2 sentences in the World Guide to a whole full-fledged ancestry. What was that like?
That was a lot. My main inspiration actually was an episode of Teen Titans where oh my god, and my mind is just blank. But Coriander, Starfire. Wow, why can I remember Coriander but not Starfire? Starfire goes into a cocoon, and from that I was like, okay, let's just blow this up as much as humanly possible and see like what kind of culture you would get. So you'd have someone that like tends to the Kamrasu that are growing up and like waiting to, this is going to sound really waiting to be possessed, because each one is inhabited by a different Aeon.
Yeah.
So like how do you build a culture around coons? Which is very weird because I don't like bugs.
Yeah, it's really interesting. They're very biomechanical, use a lot of like wooden plant matter to create their bodies. And I think you did a great job. I love the flavor with it. And I hope people are excited to see them. In addition to those rules, we have a lot of deity write-ups here. Some of them you might have seen before, like Grandmother Spider is very prominent in the Mwangi Expanse. We actually showcased her in Gods and Magic before, but her write-up in the Mwangi Expanse book explains how the people of the Mwangi see her compared to just being seen as a whole throughout the world of Galarian. So it's got more of a focus on how does she affect the Mwangi Expanse. We also have teased other gods like Lost Omens Legends we mentioned earlier, made mention of new trio of sun gods based out of Mazzali, and we give you the full write-ups on those, and some of them are brand new. We have a catfolk focused deity called Adanye, or one that is just focused on all things big trees, elephants, big animals, stuff like that, called Balumdar, which Ron helped us out with on that. And beyond that, we're looking at new monsters. As I mentioned, we have old classics like the Charuka are showing up here, but we also have new ones that are inspired by lots of folklore or myths and stuff that come from Africa and other places like that, that include things like Kava, who are feathered people that live among they have lots like thin layers of feathers that live among the Mwangi Expanse. We have the Karina, which are weird owl demon things that eat corpses and scare people away. And we also have some nicer ones like the Zimba, which is a enormous snake that has healing abilities, but is very rare to find. But if you can, it might be very helpful to find it. But in addition to all of this stuff, there's been a lot of thought put into this book, even beyond just, oh, what rules do we want and stuff. Making a book like this isn't something that we can just willy-nilly put together. We had to consider a lot of what's going on with the kind of stories we want to tell and the kind of people we want to represent. So as I mentioned before, we have talked about the Mwangi Expanse. A lot of it was presented from an outsider point of view. We've talked about the Pathfinders going in, finding stuff and coming back and then telling you about it. And what we really wanted to do with this book is shift that point of view to that of the people of the Expanse, the people living there, so they can tell you their life story and you don't hear it from someone else that just happened to visit for a few months. And in addition to that, we got to focus more on the cultures. Like Ali said, we got to pull on lots of different existing cultures and ideas to work from that, not just say, okay, well, here's Kenya, let's grab all the Kenya stuff and that's the entire book. No, we want to represent a lot of ideas, a lot of myths and cultures and stuff, and that was very important to us. And making sure that happened required having a very diverse team. And Allie is among, I think, 20 or so authors that did the amazing work of coming together and putting this book together. A lot of these are authors that are people of color, a lot of Black authors, and we're really excited to have them on. A lot of them are experienced authors that we used before. We've had Ali work with us before, the Mwangi Expanse. Some of these are brand new, and all of them have just knocked it out of the park. And, you know, this is a brand new take on the Mwangi Expanse, but it's still very familiar. So if you're used to something that, or you had something in your own games that you want to see again, we're doing our best to make sure it's still represented here, but with just more interesting light being shown upon it. So like I said, that's Lost Omens Mwangi Expanse coming June 2021. And Ron, you want to tell us what comes the next month?
Sure. Now we've got a history here at Paizo. One of the things that we like to do is make sure that we are tying places we really like with stories we really like told in those. And I'm very excited to announce our next adventure path, which follows the Abomination Vaults and Fists of the Ruby Phoenix. This is the Strength of Thousands adventure path. It starts in July 2021, runs through December 2021. It is a 6-part monthly adventure path that'll take characters all the way from first level all the way up to 20th level. Now, the Strength of Thousands adventure path is set in the Mwangi Magic Academy in the Mwangi Expanse. This is a very much a decidedly non-Western magic school. For a while, we have long wanted to tell a magic school story, give an adventure path where all the heroes are students at and then progress through a magic school. We've been wanting to do this, and we found this to be the perfect opportunity with the Mwangi Expanse Lost Omen books coming in to set this in the oldest magic school in our world. That's the Mwangi Academy. I want to talk a lot about the Strength of Thousands adventure path, but I have to warn everybody that coming into this, there's going to be some light spoilers ahead. If you are interested enough, saying, "Oh, I knew students in the Mwangi Academy," then you can sort of close your ears and and then have a GM for the rest of this. But I do want to tell everybody a little bit more about what we're offering. The general arc that the characters are going to be in this adventure path is they're going to start out as students, very new students, through the adventure path, grow to become teachers, spend some time as teachers, then ultimately they have the fate of the school in their hands by the end of it. This is one of the, it's very sort of long character arc. We want to think about what the characters are going to be doing throughout, and that's the path that the players who have characters in this adventure path are going to be seeing. We want to make sure that this adventure path is open to characters of all kinds. If you're the sort of person who heard a Magic School adventure path announcement and thought, I really like playing fighters, or I really like playing monks, we have a place for you as well. Because this is a magic school and everyone is going to be fitting into this magic school, what we're doing is we're layering on bonus spellcasting ability to all characters at the school. So if you didn't have any spellcasting ability in your character, you get a little bit. If you already had spellcasting ability, you get a little more. There are some rules in our system that let us do that fairly seamlessly by layering on archetypes. It does make all of the characters in this adventure path slightly more powerful than normal. But the important thing is that it lets people really feel like they're students who belong in our world's most premier school of magic. The initial focus, as I've said, is on the Mwangi Academy itself. Any story that's talking about students at a magic school will focus on the school itself initially. But the adventures are set all across the Mwangi Expanse and points beyond. Even a interplanetary excursion is involved here at the point back up towards the light spoilers. And the reason for this is because the Mwangi doesn't stand alone in the Mwangi Expanse. Its teachers are representatives of the natural world as a whole, and the preservation and the pushing forward of magic throughout the world. And so a lot of the teachers in the Magambia travel a lot through the Mwangi Expanse as diplomats, as frankly as troubleshooters sometimes for communities. A lot of the people in the Mwangi Expanse look towards Nantambu, they look towards the Magambia as a really powerful force for good and a resource to help them thrive. And we want to let the players be a part of that. That gets us around to where the name of the adventure path comes from. The Strength of Thousands it's a school motto. The Magambia has been around for so long that anyone who is a student there knows that they have the strength of thousands of students and teachers who have come before them, that have built up the reputation, that have built up the knowledge that these new students get and receive. And so that's showing the long lineage of knowledge and tradition that the Magic School has in the name Strength of Thousands. I do wanted to point out that we've got an incredibly diverse team of talented authors for this. I'll go through, I'll give you the names of the adventures and the authors who wrote them. Although I'm going to stop after number 1, in that the first adventure, which is going to be out in July 2021, is called Kindled Magic by Eleanor Farron and Ali Bustian. Do you want to give me a quick rundown how you feel about the AP? Any difficulties in writing the adventure that you were assigned?
Well, there was one very major one. We'll say 2, but the second part wasn't that bad. The first part was I got like the outline for it after agreeing, because I was like, oh man, this sounds really cool. Let's see what it's about. And seeing many things about bugs was very, very terrifying. So for a little while before like answering back, like, yes, definitely I can do this, I just sat on the edge of my bed with my cat, like, Bailey, can I do this? Can I actually write about bugs? I'm very scared of bugs. And then he ran away into a box, probably. So he didn't know very much.
Also afraid of bugs? Who knows?
I really don't know. He's afraid of a lot of things. But the other thing was making a list of like media that I wanted to pull from. So there's the obvious like Harry Potter and the Magicians, but I wanted to pull from more than that. I am currently doing a rewatch of Salem as I write, mostly for what not to write. I, as always, am watching a bunch of wrestling for like storytelling, and then like thinking back on my experiences at art school and visiting my friends that were on other campuses around Philly. So just like, what things from academia can I pull in? What weirdness just from going to college can I make a part of this magical world? And what magic can I pull in and make it more cool, I guess?
Allie, is there going to be a chance for the students to cut a promo in your adventure?
I mean, there could be now.
There could be now. All right. Thing. That would be great if all the students had to do instead of doing public speaking, they had to learn how to cut a promo.
I mean, cutting a promo is just public speaking in a very weird stage that's around.
True. With a lot more body oil and stuff.
Yeah. I'd like to think we've got a lot of academia taken to a fantasy or a strange level here. But as I mentioned, Allie's one of the co-authors of the first adventure, Kindled Magic. Following that is Spoken on the Song Wind by Quinn Murphy. The Songwind City is our in-game sort of a nickname for the city of Nantambu. It's the city in which the Magambia sits. Luis talked in the Lost Omens Mwangi Expanse about how there's a lot of communities that you're going to be able to see. well, these are the adventures where you sort of get out and then you're able to start sort of exploring them. The third adventure takes you even further, Hurricanes Howl by Michelle Jones, which expands on the former students, now teachers' duties, even further afield than what we had sort of previously considered the Mwangi Expanse. I think the Lost Omens book is expanding that a little bit into the region that we had called the Sodden Lands before. Hurricanes Howl is going to take place at least in part there. The fourth adventure, Secrets of the Temple City, by some guy. It's by Luis Loza.
Some hack.
Could you give me some of the same, Luis? Your experience in writing that, things you thought about when you saw it, and
So I have a very unique experience for this in that I am helping shape not only the adventure but also the city it takes place in. Temple City here is referring to the city of Mazzali, home of one very nice guy, a mummy god by the name of Wakena.
not a nice guy.
And what's happening here is I was in development of the Mwangi Expanse book and getting work from our writers on Mazzali and things like that, and that was inspiring me to put things into my adventure itself. So it's kind of the two are being shaped at the same time. So it's very fun to have an idea about, I'd like to do this in my adventure, and then have something that the writers have given me that's like, this makes it even more interesting. But then also running into like, well, I wanted to do this, and then the writer said that, and maybe I'll tweak it just a little bit so it supports my own adventure ideas a bit more. But yeah, it's really interesting because I've been presented with quite a challenge. There's going to be a lot of social interaction going on, and trying to keep that up for a significant portion of the adventure is going to be a bit tough. But I think it'll be worth it once we're done with it, and I feel like I'm up to the task. It's just gonna be a lot harder than some of the other stuff I've done, but it's exciting to see, and I'm excited to kind of reveal some of the secrets of Mazzali that the Mwangi Expanse kind of hints at, and then we can kind of immediately turn around and say, hey, that thing you read, now you get to live it and experience it and be part of the revealing of more information, and that's part of that.
That's great. So that's Secrets of the Temple City. That's the fourth one. In fact, there's secrets there that Luis put in. They even take you to other parts of the Mwangi Expanse there. The fifth adventure is called Doorway to the Red Star by Michael Sayer. And if you are sort of a fan of our lore, you may know that the Doorway to the Red Star is an existing place. It's in the Mwangi Expanse. It is rumored to be an interplanetary portal to Akaton, our version of Mars, but that can't possibly be the case. So, sixth adventure, then moving on, is Shadows of the Ancients by Saif Ansari, who's done quite a lot of writing for us on the Starfinder side, and really sort of mastered a lot of the very sort of high level type of types of storytelling where things really feel more like a myth or a fable. There's a lot of that sort of theme that we want to be weaving through this adventure path, and Shadows of the Ancients brings a massive and monumental threat right into the Magambia, and much of that adventure is putting a stop to it or averting it. It is really bringing things back to where they began. The whole story begins with Ali's adventure, where you're these new students just learning the Magambia Academy, what's there, who's there, kind of growing to love it, and then it comes full circle around to being the heroes whose actions are going to be the ones that either save the magic school or have it irreparably changed. So that's the arc of the story there. Like all of our adventure paths, we are giving tons of back matter support in this one. We have got an article in the first volume that presents several of the fellow students, who they are, their faces, their personalities, sort of the other friends that you can get to know there, rivals you could get to know there. And then later on, when the when the characters become teachers, there's a similar students about the faculty of the Magambia, which is here are the other teachers. These are the people that are your peers now that you've become one of the teachers and responsible for the well-being and the reputation of the school. We're also providing right in the first volume, we're providing an article that presents an academia downtime subsystem. This is how you're able to reflect over the course of months or even longer of several of these an academic year, how you represent becoming more skilled as you go throughout academic years as students. And any teacher can tell you that learning doesn't stop once you become a teacher. You'll continue to learn more as you teach, as you go to some of these far-flung places. As a teacher, you'll have students with you in order to help sort of plumb some of these ancient mysteries, and you learn more as well in this system. What this means is that unlike a lot of our adventure paths, which can happen temporally, they can happen very quickly. Our general assumption is these monthly products, each adventure takes about a month to play, and then a month later you're doing the next one. That's not the case in this one. In this adventure path, we expect the Strength of Thousands adventure path to have your characters span several years of game time. So think of it a little bit like the Kingmaker campaign, which was intended to last over years and years as you develop a kingdom. Here, this is over years and years as you're developing yourself as a student and then as a teacher. We've talked about the Lost Omens, Mwangi Expanse. We've talked about the Strength of Thousands adventure path. We've got another couple of things that are going to be tying into this region and this story, including our free RPG Day adventure in 2021. Once again, this is the one thing that I've been looking to tell. I've been looking to tell this type of story since I joined Paizo years ago, and I feel like this is the way to be able to tell it in a way that is interesting and engaging with one of the most interesting places in our world that we have. Very excited about the Magambia Magic School Adventure Path, Strength of Thousands. Again, it releases in July 2021 and goes monthly to December 2021. And that's the summation of that. Anything else to add there? Luis?
I just think people hopefully are looking forward to it. We're really excited to get the book out. It's something that I know Eleanor and I, Eleanor being my co-developer on the line, have been wanting to do since basically day one of us getting into Paizo, and getting to realize that is really exciting. And I'm so looking forward to letting everyone know just how great these authors have been and what amazing things they've done with the Mwangi Expanse. I think people are really going to like it.
All right. And Allie, anything you want to add about yourself at the end? Let the listeners who are seeing you know.
Yeah. Well, about the book, I'm really glad that I got a chance to write something non-Western and like really be allowed to own it and the content that I made in it. And hashtag ad.
Sure.
You can find me on Twitter. I'm MadPierrot, MADPIERROT. I'm on itch.io, also madpierrot.itch.io, and DriveThruRPG. And there you can just search for Allie Bush, and it's a lot easier.
Thanks so much for joining us, Allie.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All righty. And I think with that, we are going to be transitioning over to Eric Mona. Eric, take it away.
All right. Hello, everybody. I am Eric Mona. I am the Chief Creative Officer and Publisher at Paizo. Thanks to Ron and Luis and Allie for giving us that awesome presentation about the upcoming Mwangi Expanse Lost Omen book and the Strength of Thousands Adventure Path. That stuff is super, super exciting. It's also a fair distance in the future. So some of you might be saying that's really, really cool, but how do I get involved in Pathfinder right now? So I'd like to take a few minutes here to talk about some brand new stuff, some stuff that's coming in the kind of immediate future, and other ways that you can get involved right now. So let's start by talking about what I think is one of the most exciting Pathfinder 2nd Edition products we've put out yet, and that is the Pathfinder Beginner Box. I've got a copy of the Beginner Box right here in my home office studio, and I'm going to be showing off some cool interior components of this box presently. And then we'll get into a little bit about what the Beginner Box is all about, kind of what you can do with it, and so on. So here's a pretty good overview of a lot of the contents in the Beginner Box. Some of the stuff's not in there, like, for example, this awesome set of polyhedral dice. The Beginner Box is designed to be people's first experience, not just with Pathfinder, but maybe even role-playing games in general. So we assume that people know nothing about RPGs, that they have none of the stuff that they need, and we're going to give you all of that stuff within the Beginner Box. So let's start by showing off a couple of different components. This here is your player reference card. There are 6 of these in the box, and one for each player. Maybe there's actually 4 of these in the box, but one for each player. And it's got a summary of all the conditions in the game. So stuff like prone, restrained, flat-footed, and so on. And then it's got what you can do in your turn. So this is something that's really helpful, particularly for new players, to just kind of have at their place at the table so that they can kind of know what is ready next time it's their turn. Speaking of players, of course, Pathfinder is a game about making amazing adventuring heroes. And there's a couple of ways to do that with the Beginner Box. One is we've got this character sheet. This is a simple, beautiful 2-sided character sheet that's completely blank. So if you want to use the Beginner Box to make your own heroes, you're going to want to fill out one of these sheets. And the books will take you through the process of doing that. Very, very simple. Also, part of the Beginner Box appeal is we want to get you playing within about 15 minutes of opening the box. And one way that we do that is we provide 4 pre-generated characters in the set itself. This is an example of Kira, the cleric. So if you're not ready to make a full character yet, you just want to kind of just jump right in, you're going to want to grab one of these character sheets. Now, this is actually more of like a character folder. You've got a couple of sides here. The front and back have like, here's what Kira is all about. Here's why you might want to play a cleric. Here's a little bit of background and personality stuff to get you started on that front. And then, of course, you open it up and you've got your character sheet here on this side. And over here, all the rules that you need to kind of play the character. So you don't even need to get into the rule books if you just kind of want to jump in. All that stuff's going to be explained within the context of just this one sheet of easy reference rules. I'll get into the books in a second, but I want to show some of the other really exciting components. Again, we know that a lot of the people getting this Beginner Box are not going to have mountains of miniatures and other accessories, so we wanted to make sure to provide a few sheets of what we call Pathfinder pawns. These are hard cardstock pawns. They pop out super easily, and each represents a character, double-sided, full-color printing on each side. All the monsters that are in this book, there's about 50 monsters, I believe, are represented here. We've got a bunch of different character options as well. And then this works with another super exciting component, which is the flip mat. So you can see here, this big beast has got, your very first dungeon on it. It opens up to a huge size. It's double-sided. You can see all the light shining off it here in my beautiful home studio. Anyway, that's going to give you a dungeon that is keyed to the opening adventure in the Beginner Box. Also, you can populate it, with the other monsters in there if you want to mix things up. So it's really a nice template for your first dungeon adventure. So let's talk about the books a little bit. In the Beginner Box, we've got the Heroes Handbook. This is a 70-some page, 72-page book that gives you all of the rules that you need to know to be a player in the Pathfinder role-playing game. And I want to make that part really clear because we're talking about the Pathfinder role-playing game. The Beginner Box is not like a dumbed-down version of the rules. It's not like a redone version that's like got different math to make it easier or whatever. It's the actual Pathfinder 2nd Edition rules. It's just that we've truncated the choices. So you have 4 classes to choose from. You have 3 ancestries to choose from. Instead of being sort of paralyzed by the 500-plus page rule book, you have it just kind of handed out to you in a way that has lots of illustrations, lots of examples, and is designed for new players in mind. So this is a great gift for someone who's never played before. This is a great way if you already know how to play and you're looking to bring new people into the hobby. The Beginner Box is a great gift for them, or a great first experience to get them, get their feet wet a little bit. And one of the ways we're going to do that is through the 90-page Game Master Guide. So this is the book that the Game Master needs. So not a ton of reading here, but a lot of play value and a lot of excitement. So this book has got, how to be a GM. It's got a bunch of monsters. It's got a bunch of treasures. It's got a bunch of information about how to run your own games, how to design your own campaigns. It also starts with an adventure that's keyed to that flip mat I just showed you a second ago. So the Game Mastery Guide puts you right into the action right away and kind of explains the rules incrementally as you kind of learn through it. So great way to get started in the game. That is a Game Mastery Guide. Comes with the Heroes Handbook. We got the flip mat. We've got pawns. We've got dice. We've got, as you can see here, a huge variety of stuff in this box. $39.99. People are very excited about it. The last version we did for Pathfinder First Edition was hugely popular. This one's even better. This is now the third time. We did the first one with First Edition. We did a Starfinder Beginner Box. This is our third Beginner Box, and we keep learning new and exciting things each time we do it. Let me talk about a couple of other things in this in the set. So here's a better look at those character sheets. The blank character sheet. Here's a look inside the Game Master book. And so this is how we kind of break down that first dungeon. So you'll see like there's lots of illustrations, there's maps keyed right in there, really kind of holding your hand through that first dungeon experience. And the dungeon is designed in such a way that you're slowly introducing new rules to the players as they explore room by room. One of the really neat things about the Game Master Guide is that it has a little gazetteer of the town of Otari. Otari is a small town on the southern coast of Starstone Isle, which is one of the major locations in the world of Lost Omens. You can see on the map, it's not too far off the coastline from Absalom, which we call the city at the center of the world. Absalom's the major city in the Pathfinder campaign setting, and this is like an outlying town where you get things started. And one of the reasons that that's particularly neat is that coming out in November, the same time as the Beginner Box, is Troubles in Otari. This is a 3 little short adventures in one book, essentially. And the book is going to give you additional rules to advance your characters 1 level higher than you can do in the Beginner Box, and some other neat tricks for players, some neat things that will be able to add on to their characters. But in addition to that, it's little short adventures in and around the town of Otari that kind of build on the adventure in the Beginner Box. So you can play this without the Beginner Box, but it's a great next step if you are playing from the Beginner Box adventure. And again, because the Beginner Box rules are the rules of Pathfinder, you don't have to make any special adjustments. You're just good to go right out of the Beginner Box. So Troubles in Otari, dropping in November at game stores and on Paizo.com. Next year, the first adventure path for 2021 is called the Abomination Vaults. And this also is set in Otari. Now, you're going to want to start with first level characters with this, just like any other adventure path. But you will be able to go through and explore a major dungeon location right outside of the town of Otari. We've always wanted to do a big dungeon crawl adventure path where you're in a dungeon pretty much the whole time. This is our shot at doing that. We're making it a 3-volume adventure path rather than the standard 6. That means you're not going to get kind of bored with the repetitive sort of dungeon play. We are doing a lot of back and forth into the town to keep that from happening as well. Also, since a lot of people are going to be coming to Abomination Vaults from the Beginner Box, we wanted to have an easily digestible 3-volume adventure path that you can play, within a few months, as opposed to having to do a campaign that might last a year or more. So that's Abomination Vaults. That's coming out in January of 2021. All right, let's talk about another big, huge project that is out right now. That is the Advanced Player's Guide. The Advanced Player's Guide came out about 4 weeks ago at Gen Con. It is doing really well. People are loving it. It's got a ton of new material. So the Advanced Player's Guide, quite unlike the Beginner Box, is kind of that next step for players who already have the core rule book, are looking for kind of, to go one step deeper. One really neat thing that Pathfinder 2nd Edition allowed us to do was to build the system from scratch with at least an inkling of where we wanted to take the system over the next few years in terms of bolt-ons and add-ons with rules. So in 1st Edition Pathfinder, we came up with this idea called Archetypes, which is like a template you put on top of your class. So you've got, a fighter and you want to make them a I'm trying to just off the top of my head, a bruiser. Okay, what does that mean? Well, you can punch people in the face, but you swap out this power for this power, what have you. But there were some classes, because when we translated Pathfinder from 3.5 back in the day, we didn't really know that we were going to do archetypes, and we were trying to stay really close to 3.5. So certain classes didn't have powers that you could swap out. So class like the cleric, for example, never really had the robust archetype options that some of the other classes did. We really addressed that with Pathfinder 2nd Edition, where all the classes are kind of built on the same chassis. And the Advanced Player's Guide is really our first opportunity to hook stuff on to those bolt-on areas and give you even more options for customizing your character. So for example, the Advanced Player's Guide has new ancestries. So we talk about the ABCs of character design: ancestry, background, class. Here we've got the rat folk, brand new ancestry. The book also has cat folk, rat folk, tengu, kobolds, and orcs. So lots of different choices. In addition to full ancestries, we've also introduced something called versatile heritages, and those can be put on top of any other ancestry. So that's stuff like your planar scions, your tieflings, your asimars, your dustwalkers. If you've got like an angel or a demon or some kind of death psychopomp thing lurking in the back of your family tree, the versatile ancestry is a way to make that happen. But unlike Pathfinder 1, where it's like, oh, you're playing a tiefling, which means you've got you're a human essentially with that admixture. Now you can add that on top of your gnome. You can add that on top of your rat folk. You want to play an angelic rat folk? Be our guest. We'll give you the rules to do that in the Advanced Player's Guide. Also in that book, the B part of ABCs of character design is background, and that's got stuff like cook, scavenger, bandits, a squire. There are 17 standard backgrounds and 8 even more special backgrounds you got to get your permission to your GM to play. We've got 4 new classes, and those include from left to right here, we've got the Oracle, the Swashbuckler, the Witch, and the Investigator. Each of these classes have different powers that are a divergence from the core rulebook. I could probably do a whole panel on each one of these. I encourage you to go onto Paizo.com and check it out yourself. You can also watch the video Q&A that I did at Gen Con, which goes much more in depth on each of these different 4 character classes, but they're super fun. The Witch is probably my favorite. You get powers from your familiar. You can do all kinds of neat magical stuff from that. You have hex powers. It's really, really cool. So that's kind of the Advanced Player's Guide. Here's a look at some of the archetypes that we have. There are 42 archetypes in the book. There's more than 50 feats in the book. There are 150 some spells and rituals in the book. So just more of everything kind of for every character class. There's new powers for every core class. There's just a ton of neat things in the Advanced Player's Guide. So I encourage anyone who's already into Pathfinder to check that out. Or if you're just kind of looking at Pathfinder the first time, check out the Advanced Player's Guide. And you can kind of see the next step in the system. You can see how deep and how robust the rules really are going to be for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. That's out in stores right now. You can also get it on Paizo.com. So what are you going to do if you want to play that awesome Strength of Thousands adventure path that they were talking about in the previous part of the panel, but you want to play right now? Well, you could jump into Agents of Edgewatch. That is our currently active adventure path. That is a 6-month program that started in July and goes through the end of the year. It is set in the city of Absalom. It is, here's the 6 volumes arrayed so you can get a look at what adventure paths look like. The insides of them show you here that it's an adventure and sourcebook hybrid. So there's articles in the back that kind of fulfill, or fill in some of the holes of here's this new organization in the campaign. There's an adventure. Each one's 96 pages, and this thing comes out monthly. Agents of Edgewatch puts you in the role of a brand new detachment of city guards who are looking into some horrible murders and other malfeasance during a once-in-a-generation sort of World's Fair style festival called the Radiant Festival that's happening in the city of Absalom. I think this has got some of the best writing in any adventure path we've done to date. It's super, super cool. Set in the city of Absalom, you can see just how big that city is. We've got a big hardcover book of that coming next year as well. Here's an even closer look at that map. Wow, most detailed map we've ever done. There is a player's guide available for free right now on Paizo.com. Gives you a quick overview of the campaign to check out. Also gives you some rules about how to tone down some of the violence and some of that if you want to do that. This is a challenging time, frankly, to be publishing a game where you're playing the agents of law enforcement. We wanted to give a lot of options in there. So if you wanted to maybe carve that entire part out, you can do that, and you can do that with our blessings, and the campaign should still work. All those suggestions are in the Agents of Edgewatch Player's Guide, which is free on Paizo.com right now. Okay. Other things free on Paizo.com right now are the Starfinder Tech Revolution playtest. Still got about a week left. That ends on the 18th of September. You can come and pop in there and check out the Nano site, which is a nanotechnology sort of spellcasting class. And then we also have mechs. So all the rules for mechs. All that's free. You can download it, share your thoughts via survey, message board. We'd love to get your feedback. We'll have lots more to announce about Starfinder upcoming products, probably next month at an upcoming event. We'll let you know about that. But I couldn't resist telling you about the Starfinder Tech Revolution playtest. Still about a week left. Still time to get involved. Very much still time to get involved in the Pathfinder Secrets of Magic playtest. That is out right now. Dropped it last week, and you can go and check out 2 new classes for Pathfinder. So we just released 4. We're giving you 2 more to take through their paces and share your thoughts with us. One is the Magus, who's kind of a fighter wizard style character who can channel spells through their weapons. Lots of really fun stuff there. The other is the Summoner, one of the most interesting but also sort of complex classes from first edition. We've streamlined it and done some really neat stuff. That's kind of a magical buddy class where you have an Eidolon who manifests as maybe an angel or the departed spirit of a loved one or something like that. And you and that buddy kind of take on the challenges of an adventuring world together. So these are available at starfinderplaytest.com and pathfinderplaytest.com respectively. You can pop on there, give us your feedback. We'd love to have it. Lastly, I'd love to talk about our new partnership with Beetle and Grimm's. You might know Beetle and Grimm's. They've made a number of different really high-end, awesome accessories for like Dungeons and Dragons. They came to us with an amazing idea for some books that they want to do for Pathfinder, and they are called the Complete Character Chronicles. They've got a Kickstarter that's going to go starting on October 27th. You can learn more at beetleandgrimms.com/Pathfinder. But these are essentially deluxe character guides. So it's all the rules from both the core rulebook and the advanced player's guide that you need to play your class in one book. We're starting with what we call the core 4: fighter, cleric, rogue, wizard. All of that information, all those rules in one easy reference. But it's not just a rule book. It's also kind of a very, very deluxe character sheet. You can see it's beautifully designed. They've got extensive character sheets, 12 pages of character sheets that give you like anything you might want to track. Not just your stats, but also like the most damage you've ever done or funny quotes and stuff like that. You've got spell books for spellcasting characters. You have templates for making a hideout, a temple if you're a cleric, a thieves guild, whatever. And you've got maps and journal entries for your individual adventures. You've got a birth certificate all the way to a death certificate. The idea is you have a record of your entire character's life, however long or short that may be, and you can always just kind of pull that off the shelf and reminisce as you go through it. Of course, it's table ready with all those rules. We're super, super excited to be working with Beetle and Grimm's. Again, you can check them out at beetleandgrimms.com/Pathfinder. Kickstarter starts on October 27th. So please join us. Please join Beetle and Grimm's. They're going to unlock other stuff. They're looking at doing cool dice. They're looking at doing other neat sort of accessory type add-ons. And of course, they're looking at unlocking some of the other classes as well. This is a project that we hope will go on for quite some time with Beetle and Grimm's. They've been great to work with. They've already started putting these things together. They are beautiful, and I'm super, super excited. So that kind of wraps up some of the quick announcement stuff that I wanted to do. But one more thing I wanted to say. If you don't even want to be able to wait until going to the store or wait to order something online, you want to play Pathfinder right now, you can do that. We've got games going 24/7 here at PAX. You can go to Paizo.com. There's a big link right on the main page. It'll take you to our organized play portal. We've got demo games starting on the hour. We have hundreds of games going on at any one time. We would love to welcome you into a Pathfinder or Starfinder game. We have tons of different options. Please check us out on Paizo.com. Please join us on the organized play Discord that we have set up. We'll get you into a table, and we are going to be thrilled to game with you. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend here at PAX. We're sorry we can't see you in person, but we will love to see you online. Please join us, and we'll see you next time. From Pathfinder Land, this is Eric Mona saying goodbye and enjoy your con.